Welcome to the Hot News Channel, where we strip away the noise to analyze today's breaking stories. It is February 18th, 2026.
You know, today isn't just another news cycle. I really think if you're paying attention to the tectonic plates shifting beneath our feet, you'll realize that today marks a pivot point in history.
A pivot point?
I think so. This is the day the old world order didn't just crack, it officially shattered.
That is a massive claim to open with. I mean, we hear that kind of rhetoric every election cycle, right? Or every time there's a G7 summit. Is today actually different? Or are we just, swimming in the usual cable news hyperbole?
No, I don't think so.
Because I'm looking at the stack of reports in front of me, satellite imagery, court documents, transcripts, and while it's intense, shattering the world order is a really high bar.
It is a high bar, and I don't use the phrase lightly. But look at what is happening simultaneously. We aren't just dealing with a singular crisis here. We are looking at what we're calling the Geneva doubleheader. Simultaneous, high-stakes talks involving the U.S., Iran, Russia, and Ukraine, all happening in the same city on the same day.
And at the exact same moment.
At the exact same time, the domestic front is blowing wide open with the Black Book revelations from the Epstein files.
Okay, so you're seeing a convergence. You think these things are linked.
Exactly. The mission for this hour is to connect those two seemingly separate worlds. We need to understand how the geopolitical brinkmanship happening right now in the Strait of Hormuz is inextricably linked to the rot being exposed in the New Mexico desert.
So the foreign wars and the domestic scandals are not separate tracks.
They are two sides of the same coin. They have to be.
All right, I'm game. I'm going to be the relentless fact finder here. I've got the hard data, the satellite photos, the flight logs. I want to see if your shattered world theory holds up against the actual evidence.
And I'm going to look at the impact. Because the data points are terrifying, sure, but the fallout is what's going to change your life. Let's start with the war drum, the one beating in Geneva.
Okay, let's do it. Let's get into hard numbers then. Yesterday, Tuesday, February 17th, 2026, a massive round of indirect talks concluded in Geneva.
Right.
On one side, you had the Iranian delegation led by Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. On the U.S. side, the delegation was led by Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's special envoy, and Jared Kushner.
And we have to pause there for a second. Just on the personnel, the choices tell you everything you need to know. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner.
Right. Witkoff is a real estate tycoon, a longtime Trump friend. Kushner's family, obviously, but his background is also, it's real estate and private equity.
Exactly. These are the real estate guys, as some critics are calling them. And you have to note the absence of traditional State Department career diplomats.
No seasoned hands.
There's no Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs sitting at the head of the table. This is a direct personal line to the White House. It signals that these aren't state-to-state negotiations based on protocol. These are transaction-based negotiations based on leverage.
Which brings us to the outcome. The official line coming out of this, particularly from the Iranian side, was, well, surprisingly optimistic. Araghchi spoke to Iranian state media and claimed there is a pathway to a plan. He put a very positive spin on it, suggesting that the dialogue was constructive and that, gaps were being bridged.
That is pure theater. We have to strip that away. It's just noise. If you look at the broader context, specifically what we were calling the Rubio Doctrine, that optimism, it just evaporates instantly.
Okay, let's unpack that term because it's flying around a lot. The Rubio Doctrine. This refers to Secretary of State Marco Rubio. I have the transcript of his speech from Munich on Sunday. Right here.
Please read the key section. This is so important.
He said, "The era of ambiguous engagement is over. Our friends must know we are with them, and our enemies must know there is no sanctuary. Order is not maintained by suggestions. It is maintained by strength and the willingness to use it."
And there it is. Order is maintained by strength. That's the core of it. The Rubio Doctrine lays out a whole new world order based on coercion, not diplomatic give and take. It's a total departure from the Powell Doctrine, which was about overwhelming force if you go to war.
Right.
And it's miles away from the Obama-era strategy of leading from behind or building consensus. The Rubio Doctrine is an ultimatum. It says, get in line or else.
So when Araghchi says there's a pathway,
What he likely means is that they were shown the barrel of a gun and told exactly where to walk. This wasn't a negotiation.
And we know exactly what that gun looks like. The stick behind the ultimatum is, it's visible from space.
Let's talk about the military buildup, because I've been analyzing the reports on the Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan.
This is the flashpoint. This is where the rubber meets the road, or, the tires meet the tarmac.
It is. Now, there's a fascinating propaganda war happening over this specific base. Iranian media channels, specifically WLA, they released this high-production animated piece.
I've seen it. They claim that the U.S. has parked 24 F-15s, 12 F-35 stealth fighters, and 12 A-10 Warthogs at this base. They are projecting this image of a massive, concentrated strike force, specifically designed for, a ground invasion or close air support.
And you have to see the inclusion of the A-10 Warthogs in their claim is really significant. The A-10 is a tank killer. It's a ground attack aircraft, pure and simple.
Right. It's not a dogfighter.
Not at all. So if you claim the U.S. has A-10s there, you are telling your people the Americans are coming to invade our land, not just bomb our nuclear sites. It's a very specific message.
Exactly. But the satellite data tells a different story. And this is where it gets interesting. We pulled a Reuters analysis based on Planet Labs satellite imagery from February 2nd. The hard reality is slightly less congested, but in my opinion, tactically much more dangerous.
Okay, what are we actually seeing from orbit?
The imagery confirms 17 F-15E Strike Eagles and 4 EA-18G Growlers. We aren't seeing the dozens of A-10s?
Okay, so for the listener who isn't a military aviation nerd, you have to explain why F-15E Strike Eagles and EA-18G Growlers are a big deal. Why is that specific combination scarier than a bunch of A-10s?
Well, the F-15E isn't a simple dogfighter. It's a deep strike interdictor. It's designed to fly low, fast, and carry a massive bomb load. It has the range to hit targets deep inside Iran and get back. That's its whole purpose.
So it's a long-range bomber, essentially.
A very fast, very capable one. But the real tell is the Growlers. The EA-18G Growler is an electronic warfare aircraft. Its job isn't to drop bombs. Its job is to jam enemy radar, to blind their surface-to-air missile batteries, and to essentially turn off the enemy's eyes and ears.
You don't bring those to a knife fight.
You don't bring Growlers unless you're planning to penetrate sophisticated air defense networks. You bring them when you're going after a country, not a terrorist group in the desert.
Precisely. The A-10 is for shooting tanks in the desert. The Growler is for blinding the S-400 missile systems that are probably guarding Iran's nuclear facilities. The presence of the Growlers confirms the U.S. isn't posturing for a border skirmish. They are equipped for a kick-down-the-door strike on strategic targets.
But here is where it gets really interesting regarding that Iranian animation. You might just say, the Iranians are inflating the numbers to scare their own people.
Which they might be.
Sure. But the specific numbers matter less than the message. By releasing that piece, Iran is signaling to Washington, we know exactly where your assets are. They aren't guessing. They are showing that they have the intelligence, likely via Chinese commercial satellites or other means, to target those specific tarmacs, those specific hangars.
It's a warning shot. They are saying your planes are sitting ducks.
And it's not just the air assets. We have to look at the water. The Washington Post is reporting the deployment of 12 warships to the region. This isn't just one ship. This includes 2 massive carrier strike groups, the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Gerald R. Ford.
That's an armada. 2 carrier strike groups in one theater is? That's a massive concentration of force.
It is an invasion-level force. And Iran isn't just sitting back waiting for the strike. This is where the narrative of strategic patience, which has been Iran's doctrine for years, has just died. It's over.
So what's replaced it?
They have shifted to what analysts are calling active deterrence.
Which basically means shoot first, or at the very least, threaten to shoot immediately. No more absorbing punches.
That brings us to the breaking news from the Hindustan Times. Iran has declared a round-the-clock surveillance lockdown over a portion of the Strait of Hormuz.
A lockdown? What does that entail?
The IRGC Navy announced full-spectrum monitoring. We're talking drones, surface vessels, submarines, coastal missile batteries. They are effectively saying we are watching every single propeller turn.
And the rhetoric from the top is chilling. The Iranian supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, made a statement that should keep every naval commander awake at night.
I have the quote here.
He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's very close to a direct quote, "What is even more dangerous than the warship itself is the specific type of advanced weapon that has the capability to send it straight to the dark bottom of the sea."
That is a very, very specific threat. He's not talking about swarming speedboats anymore, which used to be their main tactic.
No, this is something else.
He's talking about something that sinks a Ford-class supercarrier. What is he referring to?
He's almost certainly referring to the Fatah hypersonic missile. Iran claims it can breach any existing air defense system because of its speed and, crucially, its maneuverability in the terminal phase.
So it's not a ballistic missile that just follows a predictable arc.
Exactly. If they have successfully mated a hypersonic glide vehicle to an anti-ship targeting system, that is a game changer. A carrier group is a fortress. It's incredibly hard to hit. But if you have a missile traveling at Mach 5 that can adjust its trajectory in flight, suddenly the Gerald R. Ford becomes a multi-billion-dollar target.
And if the U.S. attacks, Iran has explicitly threatened to target the bases where the strikes originate.
Right. They've named them.
Jordan, Bahrain, and the UAE. They are saying if you launch from Jordan, Jordan burns. That is the leverage they are bringing to Geneva.
Yeah.
It's not a plea, it's a threat.
And politically, this all ties back to Trump's maximum pressure campaign. We have a quote from Scott Bessent, the economic advisor, who was just brutally blunt about it.
Oh, yeah. He didn't mince words.
No. He said the goal isn't just a deal. The goal was to crash the Iranian currency to trigger regime collapse.
Right. Bessent noted that the currency devaluation was a grand culmination of their strategy. He basically admitted on the record that they are trying to bankrupt the country into submission.
But here's the danger, and this is where the impact analyst in me gets really worried. If you corner a regime, if you destroy their economy and you threaten their very existence and they don't collapse, what do?
They fight.
They fight. You can argue Trump wants a deal to avoid war, to be the peacemaker in his second term. But looking at the Rubio Doctrine and the sheer size of this military buildup, carriers, growlers, strike eagles, I'd argue the administration has backed itself into a corner where war might be the only face-saving exit if Iran refuses total submission.
It's a high-stakes game of chicken with nuclear implications.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that Iran isn't the only front in Geneva. Let's pivot to segment 2, the Eastern Front.
The Geneva doubleheader. It's wild.
Simultaneously in the same city, possibly in the same buildings, Witkoff and Kushner were also handling negotiations regarding Ukraine.
This is fascinating to me because it shows the complete centralization of U.S. foreign policy into just two sets of hands. It's not the State Department managing Europe and the NSC managing the Middle East. It's Witkoff and Kushner doing everything.
A very small circle of decision makers. And on that front, we have analysis from John Helmer and comments from Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov. The Russian stance has hardened significantly. They aren't looking for a ceasefire line or a frozen conflict anymore.
So what are they demanding?
They are demanding the roots of conflict be resolved.
And we need to translate roots of conflict. That is diplomatic code. It's not about who controls which village.
What does it mean to them?
In the Russian view, the root is NATO expansion, period. So resolving it means rolling back NATO infrastructure to 1997 lines. It means a constitutionally neutral Ukraine, and it means the world accepting the new territorial reality on the ground.
And Trump's reaction to this was captured on Air Force One. He was asked about it, and he just said, Ukraine better come to the table fast.
And that is the sound of the bus backing over an ally. If you connect this to the Rubio Doctrine again, remember, order is maintained by strength. Well, that coercion isn't just for enemies.
It's for friends, too.
It's for friends, too. Trump is signaling the end of unconditional support. He is telling Zelensky in public, the blank check is shredded, cut a deal, or you are on your own.
And the Russians seem to sense this shift. We've noticed a specific change in vocabulary from both Putin and Foreign Minister Lavrov.
Oh, this is important. What are they saying?
They are now openly using the term Novorossiya, New Russia, to describe not just Crimea, but the 4 annexed oblasts and potentially more.
Wait, hold on. Novorossiya isn't just a catchy name. We need to explain the history here so people understand the gravity of that word.
Go ahead.
This is an imperial Russian term.
Yeah.
It comes from the era of Catherine the Great. It refers to a specific huge swath of territory north of the Black Sea that was conquered from the Ottoman Empire.
So by using that word, they aren't just saying occupied territory. They're not saying disputed land.
Exactly. They are saying this land has historically been ours for 300 years. By bringing that term back into the official lexicon, they are signaling that these territories are not bargaining chips. They are considered part of the Russian heartland now.
So any kind of trusteeship plan is likely dead on arrival.
Explain that trusteeship concept for a second. What was the U.S. even proposing?
The idea floated by some Trump advisors, was to create a kind of autonomous zone. Not fully Russian, not fully Ukrainian. Maybe it would be patrolled by European troops, not Americans, for, say, 20 years. A cooling off period.
But if Putin is calling it Novorossiya, he's saying, we don't need trustees. We are the owners. It completely changes the framework of the negotiation.
So we have the U.S. trying to strong-arm Iran and strong-arm Ukraine simultaneously.
Well, the domestic foundation is, well, it's rotting away. And that brings us to the Black Book.
This is the story that simply will not die, no matter how much the establishment on both sides wants it to. We are talking about the Epstein files.
And you have to notice the split screen here. This is crucial. While the corporate media is screaming about F-15s in Jordan while we're all debating the range of the Fatah missile, they are whispering or completely ignoring the data dumps that implicate the very people sending those planes.
And on that note, Donald Trump on Air Force One claimed he is fully vindicated by the recent file dumps. He said it's a lot of nonsense and he's clean.
Fully vindicated. That's a strong phrase.
It is, and frankly, looking at the documents, it just doesn't hold up. We have to dismantle this narrative because the files that have been released, specifically the Black Book, and the recent email dumps show connections that go way, way beyond casual acquaintances or being at the same party once.
Okay, let's walk through the names. Who is in the blast radius this week?
Let's start with Les Wexner, the billionaire founder of L Brands, the man behind Victoria's Secret.
Epstein's original patron, really.
Right. There is an email that is absolutely explosive. It's titled simply, Leverage. In it, Epstein wrote to Wexner, "You and I had gang stuff for over 15 years. I owe great debt to you, as frankly you know to me."
Stop. Just stop there. Gang stuff. I owe you, you owe me, and the subject line, leverage. That is the language of mutual blackmail.
It's not business talk.
That is not a financial advisor talking to a client about a stock portfolio. That is a partner in crime reminding his boss, or maybe his partner, that they're in a state of mutually assured destruction if one of them talks. Leverage is the key word there. It implies Epstein held something over Wexner, and Wexner held something over Epstein.
Then we have Steve Bannon. Now, Bannon likes to position himself as the anti-establishment warrior, the populist hero.
Right, the guy fighting the swamp.
But the files reveal a text exchange between Bannon and Epstein regarding the 25th Amendment and, quote, owning 2019.
This was shocking to me. For context, the 25th Amendment is the mechanism that allows for the removal of a president if the cabinet deems them unfit. And Bannon refers to himself in these texts as being back in the F&B biz fire and brimstone.
So what were they discussing? What was the context?
It's murky, but it looks like they were discussing high-level political maneuvering, either a plot to remove a sitting President Trump or a plot to protect him, or maybe just to use the threat of the 25th Amendment as a political weapon.
And the key is who he was discussing it with.
The fact that Steve Bannon was strategizing about the 25th Amendment with Jeffrey Epstein, a known sex trafficker and intelligence asset, suggests Epstein wasn't just a pervert on an island. He was a political operative. He was a back channel, a hub.
And it wasn't just Republicans. We have Hillary Clinton. There was an email that has surfaced that allegedly shows Clinton wanting to weaponize the FBI against Trump, the very origins of the collusion hoax. And Epstein was somehow in the loop on this or a recipient of this information.
It confirms the uniparty theory for a lot of people. You have Bannon on one side, Clinton on the other, and Jeffrey Epstein is the spider sitting in the middle of the web connecting them all. He was an information broker for everyone, regardless of party.
The files also mention Tom Barrack. CBS News is reporting on his regular contact with Epstein, specifically regarding deals in Nigeria.
Right, and there are emails where Epstein tells Barrack that the political chaos in Nigeria is good for us. I mean, that's just disaster capitalism at its finest. They were actively looking to profit from instability and human suffering.
And we can't forget the royals. Prince Andrew. The Daily Beast did a deep dive on this. There are emails where Andrew was instructing his private secretary, Amanda Thirsk, to send government secrets reports on international trade and security directly to Jeffrey Epstein's email address.
That is a flagrant violation of the Official Secrets Act. That is treason, effectively. You have a senior member of the royal family sending state secrets to a known blackmailer, and you have to ask yourself why. What did Epstein have on him that was worth betraying the crown?
We can guess.
We know the answer involves the abuse of minors. But the leverage, there's that word again, was used to extract state intelligence. Epstein wasn't just selling girls, he was collecting secrets for an intelligence agency. Or multiple agencies.
Now, speaking of intelligence, we have to talk about the missing years. Analysts digging through the document dumps have spotted a very suspicious data gap.
A big one.
Roughly 25,000 documents are missing from the time frame between the year 2000 and 2001.
The 9/11 era, the lead up to the attacks.
Exactly. Why is there a total blackout during the specific period leading up to and immediately following the September 11th attacks? Of all the times to have a gap, why then?
Well, if you look at Epstein as an intelligence broker, as someone with documented links to Mossad, the CIA, MI6, that gap becomes absolutely terrifying. There are credible theories that he was involved in the financial shorts that happened right before 9/11 people betting against the airlines. Was he involved in the shadow commission that some researchers have talked about?
So people who knew it was coming.
The fact that this specific chunk of history is scrubbed from his records suggests that whatever he was doing then touches on national security at the absolute highest level. It's not just about sex trafficking anymore. It's about the architecture of the deep state.
And speaking of the architecture of the crimes, we have breaking news from New Mexico. Yesterday, February 17th, the New Mexico legislature finally approved a full probe into Zorro Ranch.
It's about time. Zorro Ranch has been the black hole of this entire investigation for years, the dark heart of it.
But what they're looking for might be even more horrific than we previously thought. We uncovered emails where Epstein is asking his staff about his angel's trumpet plants at the nursery on the ranch.
Okay, this is where it gets really dark, and we need to explain the science so people understand this isn't science fiction. Angel's trumpet sounds pretty, but scientifically it's Brugmansia.
Right.
It belongs to the Solanaceae family, the nightshade family. It contains extremely high levels of scopolamine.
Also known as hyoscine.
Or the zombie drug, or devil's breath. In South America, specifically in Colombia, criminals use this powder to completely eliminate a person's free will.
How does it work? Can you explain the mechanism?
It's an anticholinergic. It blocks acetylcholine receptors in the brain, specifically in the regions that control memory formation and executive function, your ability to make decisions. When someone is dosed with this, like if it's blown in their face or spiked in a drink, they remain conscious. They can walk, talk, open doors, enter pins.
But they've lost their agency.
They lose the ability to say no. They become completely suggestible. You can tell them to empty their bank account, hand over their car keys, or commit acts they would never normally do.
And what about the memory?
It's gone, or it's fragmented into these terrifying, nightmare-like shards. They can't form new memories while under the influence. The experience is essentially erased.
So if Epstein was cultivating this at Zorro Ranch, and the emails suggest he was specifically asking about the potency and the harvest of the plants, it confirms that the operation wasn't just trafficking. It was sophisticated chemical submission.
It was about creating zombies for the pleasure of his clients, and more importantly for the gathering of compromat on film. It explains why so many victims have these huge gaps in their memories or couldn't testify clearly. They weren't just traumatized. They were drugged with a substance designed to erase their soul, essentially. It weaponizes biology against the victim to ensure their silence forever.
It's horrifying. And while this is all coming out, the crackdown on anyone trying to talk about it or anything else really is ramping up. This brings us to segment 4.
The war on information. It's happening in parallel.
We are seeing a transatlantic effort to silence dissent. Let's look at the UK first. The Grey Zone has some incredible reporting on the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, and his aide, Morgan McSweeney.
Ah, yes, the Labour Together scandal.
They are linked to what's being called a kill list, targeting independent journalists. They used a powerful PR and lobbying firm called APCO to target people like Kit Clarenberg.
And we have to be clear, this isn't just, we don't like your reporting. This is about using state-adjacent power to destroy reputations, to debank people, to put them on lists that make their lives impossible.
It's a silencing campaign.
And you have to notice the connection. Morgan McSweeney and Starmer effectively destroyed the Jeremy Corbyn wing of the Labour Party using manufactured scandals, and now they are exporting those same tactics, collaborating with U.S. firms. It's a global playbook for silencing dissent.
And it's happening right here, too. Stephen Colbert, of all people, the mainstream darling of late-night TV, revealed on his show that he was blocked by his own network, CBS, from airing an interview with James Tallarico.
Tallarico is that Texas Democrat who has been very vocal about the rise of Christian nationalism, right?
Correct. Colbert wanted him on. The network lawyers killed it. And the excuse they gave was the equal time rule from the FCC.
Which is absolute garbage in this context. It doesn't even apply.
It is. I checked the regulations. The equal time rule applies to broadcast TV during active election cycles for candidates. Tallarico isn't running for president right now, and news interviews are almost always exempt from the rule anyway.
So why did they kill it? What was the real reason?
Preemptive obedience. That's what we were seeing. The network lawyers are so afraid of the incoming administration of the Rubio Doctrine being applied domestically that they censor themselves before the government even has to ask. They blocked Tallarico because they didn't want to upset the new power structure.
That is how freedom dies. Not by a government decree, but by a corporate lawyer in a boardroom saying, you know what, let's not take the risk.
And the power structure is flexing its muscles physically, not just legally. We need to talk about the ICE shootings.
This is a story that is being deliberately buried, but it's crucial.
2 people were killed, 3 injured at a Rhode Island high school hockey game.
A hockey game. I mean, families, kids. This is supposed to be a safe community space.
And this links back to the Minneapolis shooting of the activist known as Alex. In that case, the agents involved claimed he pulled a gun on them.
He pulled a gun. It's the standard line. It's the get-out-of-jail-free card for law enforcement after a questionable shooting.
But now, evidence from within the FBI and DHS suggests the agents lied. The gun story doesn't hold up. But here is the kicker. The FBI is actively hiding the evidence. They're refusing to release the body cam footage or the internal reports.
So this is the pattern. Agents commit violence, they lie about the justification, and then the federal apparatus steps in to seal the evidence and protect them. And we are also seeing reports of ICE agents using these bizarre, broken-down car decoys to snatch people off the street.
Explain that tactic. I find it hard to believe.
They park a nondescript car on the side of the road with the hood up, like they're in trouble. When a good Samaritan stops to help, or when their actual target drives by and slows down, a team swarms the car and makes the arrest.
That's not law enforcement.
This is counterinsurgency tactics applied to American suburbs. It's designed to create an atmosphere of terror and suspicion where you can't even trust a person who looks like they need help.
And in the middle of all this, the political opposition is just fracturing. We saw a massive public blow-up between Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and John Fetterman.
The Democratic Party is eating itself alive.
AOC was in Munich, and on an international stage, she accused Israel of committing genocide. John Fetterman immediately fired back on social media saying bluntly, no genocide in Gaza.
It's a total fracture. It's not a small disagreement. You have the progressive wing trying to hold on to the principles of international law, and you have the Fetterman wing aligning more with the Rubio doctrine of absolute force and unconditional support for allies.
What's the impact of that?
It means there is no effective, unified opposition to the New World Order we're talking about. The fact finder, in you must see a party in complete disarray, utterly unable to mount a coherent defense against the policies we just discussed.
It's definitely disjointed. And then you have politicians like Randy Fine.
Randy Fine.
His comments recently comparing Muslims to dogs, it's just blatantly inflammatory. It's hateful.
But it's being normalized. That's the key. A few years ago, a comment like that ends a political career instantly. Today, it's just Tuesday. It's part of the escalation of rhetoric that allows for things like the ICE shootings to happen without mass outrage. If you dehumanize the enemy within, you can justify any violence against them.
So let's try to synthesize all of this. We have a lot of moving parts. It's a complex picture.
It's a tapestry. You have to step back to see the whole image.
Okay. On one hand, we have a military ramping up for a potential world war in the Middle East. F-15s, carriers, hypersonic missiles, threats of sinking ships. At the same time, we have Russia demanding a total rewrite of the map in Eastern Europe, reviving imperial terms like Novorossiya.
And simultaneously, right here at home, we have the files, the proof, the documents that show the elite class, the very people making these life and death decisions about war and peace, are compromised. They are in the black book. They are sending state secrets to Jeffrey Epstein. They are involved in operations using chemical submission on children at Zorro Ranch.
And the people named in those files, Trump, Clinton, Bannon, Prince Andrew, are the ones redacting the information, stonewalling investigators, or claiming they're fully vindicated.
Exactly. Here's the connection. The war abroad serves as the perfect distraction for the cleanup operation at home. While you are watching the F-15s in Jordan, while you are terrified about the Strait of Hormuz closing, you aren't looking at the 50 terabytes of missing Epstein data. You aren't asking why the FBI is hiding the evidence of ICE shootings.
It's the ultimate sleight of hand. Look at the explosion over there so you don't see them cleaning out the safe over here.
And so the one thing you need to remember this week is this. The Rubio Doctrine isn't just for foreign policy. It is the law of the jungle, and it is being applied domestically. Power is the only currency that matters now. The law, the truth, the facts, they only matter if you have the power to enforce them.
And right now, the people with the most to hide have the most power.
And they are preparing the warheads while they scrub the records.
That is where we have to leave it for this deep dive. It's a lot to process, I know, but that's why we're here.
We'll keep digging. The files are still coming out, and we'll be reading every single page.
If you found this analysis valuable, if you want the facts that the others are hiding, hit the plus or follow button on your podcast app and give us a like.
And please subscribe to the Hot News channel for more deep dives. We aren't going anywhere.
Until we meet again, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.